Yo, Erik Holstrom.
Hey.
What's up, buddy? Section 128 podcast. This is Los Angeles. Even though none of us are there. Good to be here. We're pre-recording this on a Sunday night. We typically don't do that. We're always live, but today is a little bit of a special time. Oops, sorry about that. Let's just stop that. But, Erik's going to be going to the last game of the group.
The dead rubber.
In the FIFA Club World Cup, the ultimate friendly tour for us and the European teams, apparently, right, Erik? Hey, man, look at you. You got your Palmeiras jersey on, which is really cool. Palmeiras is going to be playing Inter Miami tomorrow, right? Is that right?
Yep.
And you will be at the same time on a plane to Orlando. How are you doing, buddy? Like I said, it's Sunday night. Hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, man. I'm happy with the OKC Thunder victory, which just happened literally 10 minutes ago. And otherwise, I had some mixed feelings about tomorrow after we watched an epic shitting of the bed the other day. It's hard to be excited to go watch this team. But on the other hand, I am heading to Orlando tomorrow for the Flamengo game, and I will be meeting up with a bunch of the traveling 3252. And regardless of if the team doesn't show up, the fans always show up, and away days are always a good time. I anticipate a lot of getting hammered tomorrow and a lot of getting hammered on game day. Chance of eliminado from Flamengo fans, which are going to drown us out, but whatever. I don't care. I'm here. I didn't get a T-shirt. I wanted to do a Dolo out, and then when the camera's on me, because I'm fourth row behind the goal and the supporter, just be like, woo, give a little flash to the camera, because fuck Dolo.
Fuck Dolo. I mean, honestly, at this point, all respect for him, but for what he's brought us and done it. But I agree with you. I think it's a little bit of a fuck Dolo given where we are, and it's tough for me to say. But it's a tough situation to put your team on, given that you've already announced that you're out. And you had one more chance to show your worth, and you failed. And that's my issue with Dolo, if we are going to be
also, there was the interview right after beating Club America, and they asked if there's any extra pressure on you for this game, and he's like, no, not really. And it showed, that game, that was an elimination game in the group stage. Our second game in the group stage was already an elimination game, and we did not play it like an elimination game. We looked like it was just another league game, and it's a stark reminder of kind of, I think, what Dolo's legacy at LAFC is going to be, which is not having the team prepared for the big games and having them prepared for every game except for a big game. And you can argue, semifinals are big games, quarterfinals are big games, sure, but they're not as big as the final, and we really haven't been prepared for any of them.
No, man, absolutely huge hit. If you look at LAFC's social, really very little going on since the loss. I think this took everyone for a ride. We had this Tunis, Esperance Tunis team, a Tunisian champ, a very experienced team. I had to write the pregame for the game. And one of the things that stuck out for them as the fact that they've been multi-time champions. And they've been in the big stage a long time, many a times. And it showed up a little bit where LAFC looked like the deer in the headlights team. No supporters, which we understand why. And these guys had coach, supporters, and players, and beat us in every single aspect of this game, with the exception of maybe the first 30 minutes. What did you think of the game overall and LAFC's demeanor against this Tunisian champion, if you may?
I mean, this game was kind of up there in choke jobs for us. I think of all of the groups in the group stage, Esperanza is the one team that I think any MLS team should be expected to come away with a win. You can look at Porto, which Miami won. Miami, on paper, shouldn't be beating Porto at all,
going on there with those Euros, but yeah.
Seattle, obviously, Botafogo, Atletico, and PSG. PSG. None of those teams are expected to beat. Miami with Porto, El Ali. El Ali is a very good team.
Yes.
that has been the best team in Africa for. I think they've won the championship 4 out of the last 5 years or something. They're
Right.
basically always representing them at the Continental Cup.
Right.
So that you can expect. I mean, I don't think you can expect MLS team necessarily going and beat them either. Like, I mean, Miami was underdogs against them. They grinded out a 0-0. They beat Porto as underdogs. And what did we do? Like, we lost to Chelsea 2-0. I thought we played a really good game that one. And then, like, what are you going to do as Chelsea? And this was the game we had to bring it. And we didn't bring it.
We did not, and it was pretty apathic at times. And like, I saw players trying to do things that they were not supposed to be doing because that's not their roles. Like, it's not your role, Eddie Segura, to try a 20-yard pass to a forward and bypass your entire midfield looking for someone. You're going to fail, and something is not right. You're missing personnel. Something is wrong, right? But it really did. And again, I wrote an article after the game about how it exposed a little bit of what MLS does to a team and a roster. Because if you think about last year, and my biggest criticism of this whole thing has been the front office getting rid of very key players in a year that they knew that they at the very least were expected to fight for CONCACAF Champions Cup. And they weren't doing that when they sold Matty Bogush, and they just basically said, fuck you, Twista, we don't want you, and dismantled the team. So what do you think of that aspect of the fact that the FO knew we were going to have a tough year and essentially said, you know what? MLS is making us get rid of this whole roster. We're going to start over. I think it's a little bit disingenuous from both sides, to be very honest, Erik.
Yeah, I think the roster construction this year really didn't make any sense to me, and I feel a little bad for the F Dolo before, because Dolo's done his thing. I have a lot of criticism with on what he's done, maybe a little regret on, that passionate thing, but nonetheless, it's like, what we've done with this team needs to be better. It needs to be different. I think JT is not in the hot seat yet, but I think the way JT put this team together makes no sense. It's like this was never put together as a winning team. You sold Matty Bogush. I understand that. On the economic side, the price offered to him was basically 10 times what we paid for him. You kind of got to let guys go like that. And I have a sneaking suspicion that give another year and we could probably pick him up back for half of what we paid for him. Like,
sure,
just a suspicion, and getting rid of Edward Atuesta, it's like, I know a lot of LAFC fans didn't care for him, but he was the one guy that would make those passes for shot-creating chances. And he's been doing that well with Orlando. He's in the upper 90th percentiles in many of the playmaking statistics, we're lacking a playmaker. And then they pick up a guy like Giroud. They get a guy like Giroud. Our three best crossers of the ball last season were Edward Atuesta, Omar Campos, and Kike Oliveira. Obviously, they didn't want to lose Kike Oliveira, but they did. So you're going to bring in Giroud, and then in the offseason, you're going to lose our three best crossing guys when service has always been a problem. And so this was all kind of like predictable. I think we really wanted to hope it wasn't so early. I certainly did. I was like, just give him a chance. And we saw a little bit here and there, but at the end, failed project. Hugo Lloris will be turning 39 in December. He's had a great season. Whether he wants to stick around for this, I'm not even sure. I think there's a good chance he hangs up the boots this year. At 39, most guys aren't playing anymore anyways. So what was Giroud and Lloris to get Griezmann? Because he's another 2 years at Atletico Madrid now. So what is the point of that? Lloris was always a great signing, but the Giroud signing made no sense unless it was to get another means at the end. And if that was the case, we seem to have gotten completely snookered on that. So
yeah, one of the things about Erik, I'm going to ask you here as a follow-up to the JT question, really, an examination of John Thornton. He was executive of the year, I believe, last year. I don't know why. Yeah. And then the year before he wasn't, but he should have been.
Executive of the year is like such a circle jerk award with like the the MLS bros.
Right. What are the standards, right? You sold Matty Bagush. You found Matty Bagush and you sold him. Good job. I mean, that was pretty amazing. Nobody knew who that guy was, and he was worth $8 million after the end. I get that, but look, man, he's gonna have a lot of tough decisions at year end. And now, again, another thing I wrote, and one of the things that he's been doing is he's doing all these really short term deals with all the players, like Javairo Durosan is signed through July 24th. He's not even here for 2 months. And we're all like, peace out, bro. Like, you literally have a month. So, like, he's not in any plans of LAFC. And you saw he didn't play at all. He played barely. He played, like, scrap minutes.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with these short-term loans, bro? Like, what's going on in his head? What's the big plan? Everyone's going to expire at year end. I'll put it on the screen next while you talk about it.
Yeah, maybe he's going to play against Flamengo on Tuesday, and that was the whole reason they brought him in, like, to play a dead rubber.
At this point, you might as well fucking play a different lineup, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, like, Under got injured, so we knew he wasn't available, so we're short a wing. Okay, it makes sense. And then Ordaz gets injured in the first game, which I also think really hurt us last game, not having him in, because he's been our best number 9 all year. Like, it's not even a dispute, like, Giroud, Abobisi, or Ordaz, who has better numbers? Like, Ordaz clears them by so much, it's not even funny. But with Ordaz out, it's if you're going to play him, that's your opportunity. But it didn't happen, and I guess throwing a guy in like that on a game with so much involved in it, like, I understand as well. But at the same time,
why did you bring him in the first place? You know what I mean, Eric? Sorry to cut you off, but like, why would you bring him a guy that is going to expire in a month? Sorry about the technicalities of this. I'm trying to bring these players in, but like, why would you bring a player in and make this guy part of your roster, a player that is worth $2.5 million? So he's not nothing, and you're not featuring him at all in these big games. And by the way, look at all the players you're going to have to replace very soon: Hugo Lloris, Giroud, Chanel. Okay, bye. Okay, we're done with the French connection. But, there's just so many questions right now, bro. Both of the fullbacks are going to expire at end.
Yeah.
Tillman, Marlon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Lloris, if we look at this list, like, if Lloris wants to stay, I would keep him. Giroud, no.
Sorry, this is really bad.
Yeah, Chanel, I'm not sure what's up with him, but obviously he's not doing anything.
Been hurt a lot, probably just getting a paycheck at this point.
Hollingshead, like, how much tread is in those tires, and Palencia.
Yeah, look at these ages: 38, 38, 35, 34.
Yeah,
and then Serhi. Which Serhi is the kind of player, man, that I love. Serhi. He seems great. No offense, but once again, little exposed against the big guys, right? Like, he was one of the players that got exposed alongside Aaron Long for that goal to happen on that right side. And I've seen a lot of that. These fullbacks just don't hold their own all the time against the big guys.
No, for sure. And Sergi, he doesn't bring a ton offensively for us either, which is a problem. His crossing
horrible crosser.
Yeah, like, horrible crosser. And again, like, we've beat this drum for 2 years. Hollingshead, like, I love the guy. It's great what he's put in, but he's 34 and he plays inverted, like, and he's not a great crosser with his left foot. And so bringing in Giroud, bringing in Bobasi, these are hold-up guys. Like, do you use a hold-up player when you're basically playing, like, counter-attacking ball? Like, a hold-up player seems to completely defeat the purpose of basically turning the ball over and having a fast attack the other way. Like, a hold-up player is for slowing the game down, building possession, which we traded away all the players that were capable of doing that last season. And, another thing is I think Marlon is probably getting the Atuesta treatment as well. Like, Marlon is a fantastic defender, and he just doesn't.
I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake, and I think this is, by the way, this is why you can't have a coach that is not going to be here next year making these decisions, because he could be like, Marlon's not good enough to play, but then the next coach was like, wait, you got rid of Marlon, right? So that tells me maybe, and this is another thing we've been talking about, is like the next coach has already been decided. It's Ante Razov, or you think it's maybe Mark Dos Santos, right? Maybe one of the assistants. I get it. If we were rating everything, why not just promote from within. Ante Razov probably has more experience in MLS than most guys out there. So maybe it's already been decided. Maybe you already have a coach. Right? Why would you look elsewhere?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm personally not against Ante Razov as a coach. Like, not at all. Like, I'd like
you want
to
him
see,
now.
100%. I want him now. Like, Hook. Like, here's the thing.
Put the fucking
And
Band-Aid.
it's if the front office wants Ante Razov to have a good chance, especially with the fans, and the fans are pissed off right now about all of this, and they're basically like, this front office is fucking cheaping out on us, and it's hard to say no, they're not. When we look at coaches' salaries, Trundle is making like $500,000 a year.
They are,
and so
they are.
It's
right here. This is where you see they're chipping out. Look at this.
Yeah,
we're on the green, 16.46 million. I'm not a fan. Let me share. I'm sorry, I cut you off, but this is when they're cheaping you out, and I gave you this number. Go ahead and conclude it, but they're cheaping out. You got all these big games and big competitions coming up, and you're on the green 16.6 mil. What's going on? You're not spending money.
Who was that? Rodriguez?
Well, it's everybody.
But
like for the most part, you know what I mean. They sold
right.
everyone in this year, right? But particularly Matty Bogusz, right? But
at the end of the day, you're in the whole year.
Yeah, it's the entire season. Right,
and you're going to have Oliveira. You're going to have Bogusz and Oliveira.
Thank you. So we did some stuff, but you also didn't replenish it. You didn't even replenish your midfielder. I'm sorry. Amaya, good kid, good player, but I almost see it like he's not an LAFC caliber player, and I have a different standard for an LAFC player now.
I'm not sure about that. He's actually one of the guys. The minutes he's had out there, I've liked. I think he is a more creative midfielder than any of the rest we have. Amaya, I put out a tweet, I think, of like the 5 guys I would even keep off this roster for next season.
Maybe.
And he was in there with asterisks along with Smolyakov as guys who haven't really played, but the minutes they've had, like, they're worth developing, and I think Amaya's got a lot of potential.
Here's another one for you, and I know we're going off script because it's Sunday. We're trying to have fun, but here's another one. Like, suddenly, this guy has not played the entire season, and they're like, "We're gonna feature Yeboah in this tournament," and then he gets minutes both games, and I'm like, "Wait, what? You haven't played this cat the entire year. He hasn't done squat for you, but people have been saying he's a great pickup." And now he gets minutes both games while
where did they play him?
Sits there. I don't understand, man. Go ahead. Help me with that one.
Yeah, what position did they put Yeboah in?
At that point, it's either scrap minutes or some sort of Yeboah.
You remember they put him in the midfield, I believe. Like, actually midfield. You remember what the Columbus podcast we had on like couple months ago before the CCC game, and they said basically, Yeboah and Columbus had been tried by Nancy in a few positions, and the only one he was effective at was left wing. Anywhere other than left wing, he wasn't a great player. And in that final against us, he was on the left wing when he scored. And we seem to be playing him everywhere but left wing because our left winger doesn't come out, just like he really picks his head up.
So I guess he takes, in a sense, a winger spot, which if Ordaz is down, he's the next man up. So it makes sense to me more, I guess, if you think about him being the next man up in the wing position. But you see what I mean there? It's the lack of creativity at that point that you're still just – it's almost like we're playing hockey or something where these guys have just shifts and minutes and, they manage these lineups to a teeth. And there's just very little variation on bringing guys in different ways and facilitating runs another way. So Bouanga will always start his run from that deep corner spot, right? And you better hope he has nobody in front of him. And you see the same thing happening with Martinez now on the right. So it's almost, again, I think it's systematic that there's just not enough creativity to open up runs in different ways. So they already know where to stop Bouanga, right? So that's why Bouanga looks like a ragdoll out there, because they're watching our tape. We just have nothing else.
Yeah, and on the other side, he hasn't finished his chances. He had multiple chances to score goals, like multiple really good chances to score goals, and couldn't do it. That Chelsea kick save. But when you have a striker one-on-one with a goalie, a good striker beats a good goalie. And Bouanga just didn't have the quality to do it. I think, like people have been saying, he's MLS good, and I think he's been exposed as he's a player that's MLS good. And if you stick him in other leagues, he's not the same guy. I think Bouanga hurt his value in this tournament more than any other player did.
Yeah, I honestly, I know he has probably no value to anyone else but us, but I think a guy like Ryan Hollingshead got really exposed here. Talk about a dude that is MLS good, because every time he gets a little bit of a chance against anything beyond that level, he gets exposed, and he did here big time. And then at the end of this game against Esperance, we're losing, Eric, and Hollingshead comes off for Marlon, which I assume to be a shift in positioning, right? But you were asking who came in, who came out. Yeboah comes in for Delgado. Amaya comes in for Tillman. Got it. But then, like, Hollingshead comes off, and he puts Marlon in. And I'm like, okay, I am very confused. You were losing, and you are now featuring a center back in your game. And you took out a guy that always has scored for you. And that's when I lost it with the coaching staff. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. You guys have no plan B when things go wrong. You're still going to put your center back to play at the 80th minute because you're managing minutes. Nobody can play 90 in this roster, it seems.
Yeah, and you're looking at this. Esperanza is a very physical team, and they tend to stand us up in the middle with physicality. And you look and it's like, why are these the subs you're making? Like, that's part of what made no sense. I get bringing the third center back, okay, because you're going to switch from 4 in the back to 3 in the back, and you're going to push one of them forward. But the guy you're going to push forward then is Sergi Palencia, the guy who we just said is horrible at crossing. Like, why wouldn't you pull Palencia and push Hollingshead forward? Like, if you need attack, which fullback is a better attacker? Obviously Hollingshead. So you pull out the better attacking fullback, you keep the defending fullback to push him as an attacker who can't cross. And it makes no sense. Like, you see those guys come in and you're like, what change are these guys trying to affect in the field? What like wrinkle in strategy are there in there to exploit? And I don't know if you have an answer, but I have no answer on that.
But I'm gonna give you another one. I'm gonna answer this with another question, which is like, what the fuck? You took out Davi Martinez at halftime, unless he was hurt. And maybe he was, and that's another problem we have to discuss. The guy's always fucking hurt, right? And you put Javero De Rosan in a game at halftime, but you took out another attacker, which is inevitably probably the one guy that can create his own shot in his roster. Had already scored once, messed up a little bit, but it was offside. It happens. He's young. He's learning some things, but and then you took him out for another attacker. What the fuck? So, like, I was already lost there. He already lost me there when he made that first sub. And, it showed the pragmatism, right? It was a word I didn't know very well before this season. And I had to learn exactly what pragmatic meant. And it is the goddamn definition of Dolo ball. Because you are the aggressor. Vegas is saying you need to win this game, right? These things matter. You are the winner. You should be the winner of this game. All things equal, right? Your players are better. And then at halftime, you send a signal, I'm going to take my most creative midfielder and put this guy that's never played for me before. And let's see what happens. That is not good tactics.
So
you got to rethink your tactics.
Do you know which player had the highest rating for us that game?
I I don't even know.
Guess.
Does it matter?
One guess. David Martinez had the highest rating of any of our players.
Which
and he's the guy that gets pulled.
It's not physical that these guys are asking you to come out. I'm fucking hurt or I'm fucking tired. I don't understand the subs. I don't.
Yeah. He was rated at a 3.9 that game. We had no 3.8s, no 3.7s. You have to and then when you go down and find a 3.6 rating, and then Lloris with a 3.5, and that's it. And so we basically pulled off our our best attacker, and this is a low bar. It's like our best player in a shitty performance, but he's still the best player in a shitty performance. So it's like pulling that guy off is crazy.
Yeah, ultimately, you're right. It was crazy, especially when that motherfucker is not doing anything really. You know what I mean? And that's really the truth. Like, you gotta understand that he's only one guy, and if they're gonna double or triple or make the zoning of their defense, front loads the left side and not create any space for a dude that needs to play and counter striking, then someone else has to carry the ball and create the shots. Which is why, you know what? If people want if we end up with Ryan Rodriguez again, it's not that bad because maybe with him on the field and Denis Bouanga also on the field, that left side could be pretty problematic for anybody to deal with. So maybe you just need someone that can carry the ball and open up shots for other guys, which this dude doesn't seem to be able to. Now, Davi Martinez has shown flashes of being able to do that. He gets subbed off by a dude that we don't know anything about it, that we picked up because apparently we had to. We had to pick someone up, otherwise people would be mad. And then, it didn't work out. Like, we got worse on the front side of the ball. We lost the possession aspect of things. And then they were just taking fucking shots at us. And Lourdes was like, oh, my God, what am I doing here? No wonder he wants to retire. He's not having a good time.
Yeah. And, yeah, super
What a
frustrating.
shit show, bro.
It's frustrating to watch, and this comes down again to what kind of team are we going to be in 26? Are we going to keep playing this transition counter-pressing game, or are we going to move into more of a possession-based ball or something more like Bob Bradley ball, which MBS and Razov were there for, which to me, it seems like a team like LAFC with multiple advantages in MLS as far as drawing players. We can get players to come to LA that Kansas City can't get, that St. Louis can't get, that all over the middle of the country cannot get because they want to be in the City of Angels, or they want to be in Miami or New York. So we have that draw. We can get players to come here for less money than it would take them to go somewhere else. And what do we do with those players? We play this kind of sit back counterattacking style, which if you're going to have a better team than other guys, the way to play is a little more of a possession model, and it makes it easier on your guys, and it's more sustainable in the long term. Now, we've seen that the counterattacking style can be effective as we rode that in 2022 all the way to victory. But what needs to happen is they need to decide which direction this team is going to go. We do not have the depth in MLS to put together basically multiple rosters, to have a possession-based roster when needed, and to have a counterattacking off the ball roster when we needed. We have to go with one or the other. So we kind of have a half of each right now. And well, actually, even less than that. We have a hold up possession number 9, and everybody else is basically a counterattacker. So it's just a massive gaping hole in the roster right there and in our strategy, and that's what's going to need to get addressed this offseason. And it's going to depend on who the next coach is and how they want to implement it.
Man, everything's going to look different. Everything's going to look different about this team.
To.
It's going to be insane. Now, if Bouanga gets sold, right, then it's even crazier because then our reference player goes away. So I actually hope he sticks around. He's a great player. He's hungrier. I like his comments after the game. It's going to motivate me to do better. I think he's happy here. He's making good money. He's adapted. And, I think like these little tests, hey, good luck trying your luck outside of here. But, here you're successful. Maybe over there you're not going to be. And, I think maybe that resonates with a guy like Denis Bouanga. An excellent player, has been really good for us, and you should continue it. He gets well paid. He's the fucking star. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. Like, where are you going to go?
Eric, no,
go ahead.
Europe is not going to happen for him. He's,
not after this fucking show.
No,
that was my best tweet of the day.
Yeah,
everyone loved it. I'm like, well, nobody's gonna want them cat now.
Yeah, there's always Liga MX, and they kind of throw silly money at players. So, yeah, when it comes to that, I'm kind of on the fence. I like Bouanga. I could see him staying, but the Ross, he needs help and support so he doesn't get stuck in this one-on-one. Giroud is the wrong guy. I'm super optimistic about Ordaz. I think Ordaz is going to be a great number 9 for us, and he is a guy that would want us to play more of a counter-attacking style than a hold-up guy. And that's that. But we need more dangerous midfielders, particularly a really good shooting midfielder, which Matty was. But we need a midfielder that can shoot, so that basically it makes the opponent have to step out of the box to close him down, which should open up spaces behind. And we don't have that, so teams can kind of park in the box on us and wait for us to come to them. And that's what they've been doing. They take away the middle for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, Delgado was a good pickup, but I still think not enough to replenish what Luis O'Brien was giving us, which was a two-way player. And this is why I'm like, you know what? Should have given him a DP player, because we fumbled that third DP once again. It was the Christian Teo all over again. That third DP position is tainted. Once you've become that, you will not play well, and you will become a problem for this club. And unfortunately, maybe Javero will be this, but he's got 1 month to prove himself, which is 3 games. I don't think we're gonna, purchase a player based on 4 games for us. So it's weird that what we do with this 30p. So my argument's always been like, just give it to Lewis. He was doing well here. You know what I mean? And, maybe he's not your exact mold of what you were looking for, but he was good enough. And sometimes I feel like JT overthinks his decisions, dude. And that's where we're going to leave that. We have to talk about the Flamengo game. You're coming, you're going, and we're recording this on a Sunday, as we said earlier on. Why? Because you're going to be on a plane really early tomorrow, so we're going to be respectful of your time. We're going to wrap it up probably in the next 15 minutes here. But let's break this game down. It doesn't mean a lot in terms of this tournament. But first off, I want to open up to you just to say what your feelings are to finally play a Brazilian team. We've asked for this, right? And let's be honest, we can use this time to also talk about this tournament and what it's meant for the South Americans more than anybody else. But go ahead, Erik. What's going on with you, man? You're going to Orlando to see LAFC Flamengo.
Yeah, and
trying to sound excited. Sorry.
I'm just gonna try to have fun, and Brazilian fans can be really brutal, and we are going to be insanely outnumbered in Florida. It's a camping world which holds like 50 or 60,000. And I'd be surprised if there's more than 1,000 LAFC fans in there. It's going to be packed with Mingau. So
it's going to be packed.
So, just to be there to watch the fans on the other side, it'll be cool. I will be with the 3252. We'll be trying to be heard. I am not optimistic that you're going to hear us at all, but we will do our best. But I know Brazilian fans, Brazilian fans, everybody's seen Brazilian fans in this tournament, and it's not even another level. It's multiple levels away from where we are, Europe cannot match Brazilian fans. Every stadium they've went to has been a takeover, and it's just been singing the entire time. And so this is going to be like that. It'll be fun. They'll usually have their own samba corps that they'll bring. So they'll be, in the stands, they'll have the samba drums. A lot of the teams there, they all have their carnival schools, their samba schools. And so I believe like a lot of the Flamengo samba school will be there. So just that alone, the atmosphere is great. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. It's almost like when I went to Brazil, kind of did some soccer tourism, went to some second division games, some first division games, Pele Museum, checked it out. Like this is going to be a similar opportunity where we're going to get to see what a fan base with over 100 years of support and passion that is pretty much unrivaled in the world, how they treat their games, So that's what I'm looking forward to. And I hope everybody watching on TV kind of appreciates the magnificence that Brazilian fans bring to this game and the atmosphere.
By the way, make no mistake, I've seen Flamengo eat a lot of shit in their history. And that's the one thing about being a soccer fan. You got to stay for the shit and then your front office has to react, and that's when you measure what kind of team you support, right? But the support is unconditional. It's always going to be there. I'm always going to be an LAFC fan. I'm not jumping from them, but it's about that. It's about seeing your team kind of come out of the ashes stronger than ever, and that's the fun of soccer. And Flamengo's been that. They were the champs in the '80s, and then suddenly in the '90s, São Paulo and some of the other teams took over, and now suddenly they're back, and the type of international exposure that they're getting, the sort of players, the caliber of players that they've now expatriated back to Brazil, guys that were playing in Europe that are now just part of their roster. We're fighting to get Javiro, Duro-san. Dude, they just landed Jorginho, like a former Chelsea player, right? And Danilo was a Juventus center back. So, they are way ahead of Major League Soccer. They're way ahead of LAFC and everything that they've done. But look, 20 years ago, when MLS was starting, they were not there. They were a struggling team, and I've seen it. So you and I, as supporters of something new like LAFC, we just have to appreciate the fact that we're going against them and getting a crack at it, right? At this point, you really have to forget what happened against Esperance and just not lay an egg. Don't lay an egg against them and get shelled by them, right? Show up, maybe win a game. Who knows? Maybe we'll win it. You seem like to think that there's absolutely not a fucking chance that we can win this game. You know what I mean? Weird things happen, dude. And that defense, from the beginning of what I saw, does not look that great, bro. So I'm wondering if there's any way we can win this game.
I know, no. There's no way. Did you not watch the Esperanza game that just happened? Like, this team is that, and here's the thing. Flamengo's probably going to rest a lot of starters because they're going to start.
That's what I was wondering too. Like, maybe there's some rotations.
Even if they
Cebolinha.
do, they have so many players. You talked about Jorginho.
Saw that.
Araujo is great. They played Plata, but they also have Everton Cebolinha on the bench. They have Arrascaeta, who he or Rafael Vega are the two best. They're the best attacking midfielders in the Western Hemisphere. And I'd probably give Arrascaeta a little bit of the edge on Rafael Vega, even though he is a Palmeirense. And then Mikael is really good. Pedro's not even starting.
Pedro's like off the bench, and then Bruno, right? Like the guy that scored.
Enrique, yeah, insane.
It's a stacked bench.
Goncalves, Viña, Juninho, Alan, they're deep. They're deep at every single position, and so their reserves will probably take us behind the woodshed with how we're playing. If we play an on top of a game like the last really good game, Chelsea, we played pretty good. Missed our chances. We played a great game against Club America. That's really the last great game we played. If we can play like that game, we can maybe get out with a 1-0 loss. We could even challenge them for a draw. But that's a draw is the best we're going to get out of Flamengo at this point. And I think even that's a pretty long shot.
Yeah, Orlando played them early in the year, and then I know it was just not really a real game, and they tied it 1-1. It was a friendly. Actually, it was more than a year ago, right? It was probably 2024. I don't think. No, they played it again. Actually, I don't know if they played it this year, but yeah, that was a long time ago, so I can't use that example. I think Orlando ended up playing Cruzeiro or one of the Minas teams in 2025 in this Florida Cup, but. Yeah, man, I think the great story of this Club World Cup has been the South American, not only the teams, but the crowds. It's definitely worth mentioning here how cool it's been to see some of the big Brazilian groups come in, take over the United States. Why am I here? I was a Brazilian guy that just fell in love with coming to the States during vacations, right? So, the fact that you can come here and see your team that you adore play against these powers from Europe, and then you lay it to them, it's just really like a match made in heaven. So it's no surprise that this tournament has been so hot in South America. the
Oh,
problem to me has been what MLS has done to the tournament, which is nothing did. Like they just basically treated it like it was a fucking piece of shit. And it hasn't really, it's showing. Like, but
yeah.
I think South America has gotten the most of this thing.
No, 100%. And the interesting and almost like unprecedented thing with this is the Brazilian teams are actually cheering for each other in this, like
They won
and
good, yeah.
this never happens. Brazilians, they cheer for their rivals to lose, but this tournament, if everybody was cheering for Flamengo to take it to Chelsea, and
Yeah.
Brazilians are becoming proud
I
of their
was.
league in this one. And that's
I wasn't.
something really, really nice to see, I think. And it's never happened.
It's never happened in this scale, and it's creating a really cool. So sports are about dialogue, right? I think our league doesn't catch fire because it's just not enough cool dialogue about it, right? The WNBA is all over the news because there's cool dialogue about it. Like these chicks are going at it, and then they look at them. It's like, oh, there, you're kind of hot, so I want to look at you again. So it's like you gotta create this cool, interesting dialogue, right? I'm sorry, it's true, but like you know what I mean. It's like with same thing with the Club World Cup. Suddenly you have this dialogue about okay, these fucking Euros are soft as fuck. They can't even handle the heat, right? And these South Americans are hungry to show them something else, right? And MLS is like, what's going on, guys? What are we doing? I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, get the fucking shit together.
I know. And what I also don't like is I see these salary cap excuses on this. And
Yeah, fuck
this
that.
is a whole other thing. Like these Flamengo is, Flamengo, this is somewhere around like 60 to 70 million in payroll this year. Last year, they're around 120 million in payroll. So that's kind of where they fluctuate. Chelsea, on the other hand, is like a $260 million payroll. So they have a big gulf in between, and they bring it to them, like the MLS sides, like we have a gulf in us, but we don't seem able to punch above our weight like these teams. And that's the thing with these Brazilian teams. They're punching above their weight. And, I see this excuse, oh, we can't do this with a salary cap. Well, obviously spending another $30 million on players would make it better. But the thing is what we do spend on players, we should be getting a lot better out of them we are. And so I don't want that to be leaned on. Of course, it is true that we do need to open our cap a little bit. But, don't use that as the reason why we're not competing in this, because I think that's like a bullshit excuse.
No, it's bad decision after bad decision is what it is. Like, I mean, I just read the expiring contracts in 2025, and like all those French guys, they went out of here. Like that project's over, and like I think everybody's ready to turn the page. Au revoir. And you have your star that's completely outmatched, and you're relying a lot on some young guys that have not shown to be what they are. Like, I mean, Martinez is an very good player, right? But to think that he could have replaced Matheus Bogusz that easily, 1-to-1, toe-to-toe, and on the fact that Bogusz had already somewhat replaced Carlos Vela, pretty big replacement for us, and then you just deal this dude and just don't replace him.
Yeah, Maddie.
It was just a massive issue.
Yeah, Maddie scored. At the end of the day, Maddie scored goals and he assisted goals.
A lot of them.
Yeah, and
Martinez
is not scoring goals. He's
not.
He's coming close to scoring goals. Great dribbles, but he's not finishing. He's doing all the hard stuff and he misses some of the easy stuff. So he's not finishing it. Now, he, like you said earlier, he has the same problem as Bouanga, in which that basically they hold us in the perimeter. So once he gets anywhere near the edge of the box, he has two defenders to deal with and defenders covering all of his outlets. And so there's not a ton for him to do other than take half chances. But regardless, his job is to get in there and score or an assist, and he's not doing that. Like, we see the potential. Man, broken record. We've seen this with a lot of players, particularly attackers, but he's got to elevate his game to that level. And I hear what you mean. I mean, it's a team sport. He doesn't have a lot of assist in the midfield for anything. He plays the ball off of Tillman a lot, and Tillman basically just back passes. Anytime he's in the front third, he just back passes. And so there's not a ton for him to do. He can deal with Palencia. Palencia is good at playing 1-2s off of him. But other than that, Palencia is not making the long passes into him. He's not springing him free. And he's not, and then he's not playing it off to cross. So it's it's a lot of pressure on him. It's a lot of pressure on Bouanga, and those two are. We need bigger heroes than that if this is how we're going to play, and this is how much support our front basically our two forwards and the wings, because our 9 is worthless unless it's Ordaz, but that's what they have, you know.
And Ordaz, for as good as he is, he's still Ordaz, right? He's a player that's growing, and he's probably playing better than we all thought he would. He's definitely playing above his potential, in my opinion, at this point. Maybe prove us wrong, continue to grow, man. But I still think that, he's sort of playing above anybody's expectation at this point, and that's not necessarily a good thing. That means he should be a complementary player in a greater scheme of things, not the main guy. He shouldn't be fighting or rotating position with Olivier Giroud. But too little, too late, man. You know what? These contracts, as we know, is going to expire in 6 months. Mr. Dolo may or may not be out of here before that. But next year's going to be a very different year for us, and it just seems like everybody's sort of giving up on this year. We'll see what happens in MLS. We'll have to see what happens in the Leagues Cup. There's just so much shit coming down the pipe, so much we'll have to talk about. So, it's just another little bump before we get back to our reality of our American calendar of soccer. It's been fun, though. It's been fun to measure ourselves against these big boys. Very poorly planned by MLS. We could have gotten the packages for us as supporters, like the diehards. Like, come on, put your fucking brains and start working on things when they come to you. Opportunities like that don't come to you all the time, but it is what it is, mate.
And build a more complete roster. I will say, for Bouanga's defense, he's a DP that basically is always playing, and we've had plenty of DPs that are injured half the time. So at least with Bouanga, we know that dude's pretty healthy.
He's always healthy. He's a beast. He's got the right attitude. He's as the man. He's not a diva. He's not. He actually plays the game. It kind of stays the course, and I appreciate him for everything he's done. People are like, he's not gonna be ever as good as Carlos Vela, and I'm like, no, you don't know that. I still think he can do a lot for us. We were not going to do predictions and starting lineup. Who gives a shit about that? But I do want to talk about something else. In the beginning of the year, we had toyed with the idea of just talking a little bit more about Brazilian teams. I see you wearing the Palmeiras jersey, so we have a little bit of time here. So what we're going to do is break down this other game that is going to be going down between Inter Miami and Palmeiras. You know Palmeiras better than anybody that I know, so it's only fair that we talk about that. The World Cup has been exciting for very different reasons, but have you been watching Palmeiras in this World Cup, and what have been your thoughts about the team so far in this tournament? I know they're somewhat doing really well, so tell me about it, man.
Yeah, they're doing really well. I mean, if you wanted to split hairs on it, there was their game against Porto, which Miami ended up winning. So you kind of look back but Porto's a pretty evenly matched team with Palmeiras. The interesting thing I think with Palmeiras is that they can play you in so many different ways. I've said plenty of times, Abel Ferreira, I think, is the best coach in the Americas. Palmeiras does not play Jogo Bonito, and that kind of makes them somewhat hated in Brazil because, Brazil plays Jogo Bonito. That's their whole thing. And Palmeiras really plays almost anti-football. And Abel, I call him the soccer terrorist. They like to foul. They like to tactically slow down the game. They like to basically put the game at their pace. There's teams where they'll speed up the pace on, and there's teams they'll slow down the pace. And they're very good at dictating the pace of the game. And so these are the things that Abel excels at, is drilling players into the psychological game of it. And not to mention, they have a lot of very good players. Weverton is the best goalie in South America. He's one of the best goalies not playing in Europe, probably the best goalie not playing in Europe. Gustavo Gomez is the best center back in the Americas, hands down. Piqueires, the best left back. They have a couple positions where they just have the best guy. Facundo Torres, ex-MLS guy, has been playing very good for them as well. Richard Rios, another one of the best midfielders, Colombian. And then you have a Flaco Lopez. has scored 5 goals in his last 7 games. He can be a little bit hit and miss, but if he gets the ball on his head, he's pretty good. If he gets the ball at his feet, anything can happen. And Palmeiras tends to play also similar to Dolo ball in a way, a little more of a counter-pressing, counter-attacking game, but they rely much more heavily on crosses. They're very good at crossing, and they have very good targets to cross the ball to, and they always have. So, and again, with the Jogo Bonito, crossing the ball in the box to get lumped in by a header is just not how Brazilians usually like to see their game played, but that's what Palmeiras does very effectively. They also obviously have Esteval on the right wing, who's a $60 million transfer coming up to Chelsea. So up and down, their team is stacked, and I know Palmeiras is really going to have their designs on trying to win this whole thing. The Mundial is this thing that's been very elusive for them. They're the only big team in South America that has never won it, and they get a lot of shit from people for it. So I think they're going to give Miami everything they can handle. They may even rotate as well, and I think there's still going to be enough to handle Miami. It's a really big team, and they've kind of started this tournament kind of slow, in my opinion. And, and I think some of the European teams have too. I think the teams that really have their designs in this whole thing are kind of easing slowly into this tournament, and they're going to start picking it up when you hit the elimination rounds. And Abel Ferreira is a pragmatic enough coach that I think he would work that in as well. So I think Miami's going to have their hands full. I think maybe they're probably going to be on a 3-1 loss, is going to be my score prediction. Messi is Messi, so there's going to be a point where he's going to have his moment of brilliance, but Piqueres is going to lock him down, I think. I think Messi is going to have a hard time getting around Piqueres.
I think so, too. I think that's a great breakdown. First of all, thanks for doing that. Like I said, Palmeiras really, really well. It's a fun team to watch. Not my team, but I have no dog in this fight, so I'm glad you do. As far as I think it's very interesting MLS versus Brazil matchup. And we had one already, like Seattle and Botafogo, that ended up being close at the end. I would think Seattle had a chance to tie that, if not win it, depending on how that thing went. But Palmeiras is a different beast, and they're a very disciplined team. And Inter Miami, as we know, have a lot of flaws, but they do have Messi and they have FIFA behind them. They came out pretty nice on their group. I think Palmeiras is really the only big threat out of this. So they hope that Palmeiras and Inter come out of this game. To me, it's closer than that, but Palmeiras winning with like 1-0. It's something really not exciting, but convincing. And then we'll see what Porto will do, right? Because it'll end up being all about goal differentials. Everybody will end up with 4 points there in that second position. So, it will be about how many goals you scored and how many goals you didn't score. So, I just hope an MLS. By the way, I have a question for you. Do you hope an MLS team to go through? So, this case, Inter Miami, would you prefer them to go through or die right here? And it's the end of MLS in this tournament.
I want to see them go through.
Okay. Yeah. Me too. For as much as I hate Miami and what they symbolize, I think it will make us look slightly less embarrassing, especially since LAFC completely shit the bed. I don't know why. I'm telling you this without really believing it. I'm like, yeah, I really want them to go through. Do I really want them to go through?
Yeah, I mean, Miami's going to have their hands full.
They're fucked.
Yeah, I believe.
But you know what?
They're missing a defender. They have Falcone, and that guy has seemed really suspect at a lot of times. And Palmeiras, the thing with them is that they finish their chances. If you give them a chance, they're going to finish it. Like, they're that team. Yeah. And so, that's going to be the real struggle for Miami. And the other thing with Abel Ferreira is, if Palmeiras wants to get a goal and they want to grind it out and basically just like play into a 1-0, like they can grind a game out for 60 minutes with a 1-goal advantage and pretty comfortably walk away with it. Like it's just how they're built and drilled. They're a phenomenal team, one of the best disciplined teams in the Americas, and they're going to be a force in this tournament.
Yeah, no, look, man, we're going to get out of here because I know you got a big day tomorrow. I really appreciate you doing this with me on Sunday night, being accommodating on the time. But Yeah, dude, it's we've been asking for this whole match of us playing against Ball, and here it is. So it's exciting for what it is. Enjoy the game against Flamengo. It's one chance in a lifetime. They're gonna come in ready to play, right? They don't want to lose to an MLS team going into against this tournament. So it's a little bit more than a friendly for them. And if we can show that we can beat them in that circumstance, I think it will make us all feel better. Let's be honest. The chance of us getting out of this group with Chelsea and Flamengo is really fucking small, right? So if we can at least say we beat Flamengo out of all of this, it may make us feel a little bit better. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're already eliminated. There's no getting out of this group. But
we know that, right? But even before we started this, like let's be honest, did you really think we were gonna get out of this group, right? It was a tough group.
No. We weren't gonna get out other than Chelsea.
Chelsea and the Flamengo,
but
arguably one of the best.
But we should be sitting on 3 points right now, and to me, that's the big frustration is looking at this group. I was like, if we get 4 points, that's gonna be fantastic, and where it looks like we're gonna go out with 0 points, and we should have done much better than that. The other thing about this is all the people chirping on Twitter about MLS going and playing Libertadores, and we need to really challenge ourselves against those teams. We can hang with Libertadores, we can hang with the Brazilian League, and I know a lot of them don't watch a lot of Brazilian League, so I would like to know how much of them think that we can still hang with Brazilian League and still hang with Libertadores in our current state. Like, we have a long ways to go, guys. A long ways to go.
Yeah, but these are good things, but yeah, if you're getting yourself beat up by Mexican teams left and right and you can't compete when you go over there and you're Columbus and you just can't get out of your own way because you know what I mean? Like you got to figure this out but look, it serves a purpose. I think MLS will kind of look at him and say, all right, it's time to open up a little bit and loosen the reins because we didn't look good for us and we're going to leave money on the table. This FIFA thing's not going to go away. And it's good for the sport, right? Sometimes breaking your face is good for you to see what needs to be fixed. And, I think for LAFC, this is true. This passive mode that we've been doing with Dolo Ball, I think it's going to be the end of it. And maybe this will catalyze things a little bit for us. And we might see Coach Razov really, really soon here, Erik. That's what I'm hoping. But it's not counting our blessings just yet. But,
he's definitely going to get more red cards than Dolo has.
Yeah, no, I think it's worth a chance, man. He's a solid man, and he's well respected within the locker room here and within the organization. And you know what? It's okay, Dolo. Go do your thing, man. Go plan your trip. Go be with your kids. Come to a couple of games. You're gonna be who you're gonna be, but let Razov do the job. I mean, I don't understand it. There's absolutely no reason for him to continue here. Go find another fucking job in Germany. No one will miss you at this point, and that takes nothing away from what you've done for us. Very harsh critic from me, but I think he's deserving from every fucking final that we've seen this team lose.
He squandered a lot of opportunities.
It's a lot. You know what? If you can't compete on a final, maybe you shouldn't be there in the first place because losing every single one of them is not fun. And that's that for today, buddy. Good luck to you on your trip. I wish I could join you, but life is hard and I cannot. But I'm sure you represent, and for everybody from the 3252 that's going to be there, kudos to you. I know it's not easy, and if you are going, you are a fucking fan, man. But, we'll see you next week. LA is black and gold, and we'll see what happens in this damn tournament.